But I think the biggest problem is in the beginning, the very beginning of a startup, you're the person most passionate about what you're building. And people love authenticity and passion. The second problem I was mentioning with marketing is a lot of people think in their heads of the marketers and salespeople they've seen in literature, in imagery. So what's the worst person in the world in business? It's the used car salesman, right? Someone who's trying to trick you into buying something. And sales isn't trickery. The best salespeople are trusted advisors.
Hello and welcome to Gould with Gould, a podcast for startups and entrepreneurs. I am your host, Larry J. Gould, and I'm joined by Professor and businessman Jeremy Kagan. Jeremy, thank you for joining us today. It's really great to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Now, Jeremy is a world-renowned expert on the subject of digital marketing, teaching at the top universities in the United States, including Columbia Business School and Cornell Tech. Startups work initially by themselves and normally in an environment alone. The world of startups is hard, but it's not a new world. Startups have been going since the inception of commerce. But what startups can do today is go exponentially fast and often because of digital marketing. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is the king of digital marketing. But before you answer, one of the interesting things that I found, working with startups is I asked them the first question, what is marketing? And I'm rather surprised at how they really don't, and often in many cases, have a very good answer. So before we go to digital marketing, what is marketing? Why is it so important?
Well, first, let me just say thank you so much for the kind words. I'm going to just take that part and send it to my mom. She's going to be very happy.
I can say more later.
And that's my marketing, right? Marketing is funny in the world of startups because of a couple things. First of all, the traditional tech startup idea is a couple of programmers or developers in a room building something, and then everybody just loves it, and it somehow becomes a viral hit overnight.
Yeah.
And those guys have been sort of thinking that what they do is the only skill that's important to a startup, and that if they do it right, marketing is not even relevant. And the truth is, we all have that feeling about what we do. It's complicated, it's hard, people don't understand it.
Yeah.
What the other people do, maybe it should be a piece of cake. Right now, I would argue that in the beginning, when building tech stuff involved building like infrastructure and heavy lifting, like if you wanted to make a web store back in the day, you had to build credit card processing. Now you just pay Shopify like $6.99 a month.
Right.
So a lot of those heavy lifting technical problems have actually been solved. What really differentiates startups these days is how they put their features and product together, so a lot of product stuff, and how they reach their audience. Because marketing is critical. It's like the movie Field of Dreams, but if you build it, they don't come. That's just a movie. You have to tell people about your product. That's all marketing is. And it goes in the widest lens. It's telling people who've never heard about you, who might not even be aware that a solution to their problem is even possible, all the way down to convincing people who are already fine, thank you, doing just fine with my current solution, to people who are trying your product and making sure they stay involved and even helping them with their problems so that a negative experience can turn into a positive one, an opportunity. So there's a whole spectrum of making sure that customer interaction builds your business.
Do you think that startups, and do you think, in fact, colleges generally around the world, do you think that startups and the general population give respect to this subject?
Not so much, but we do have shows like Mad Men from like the old golden age of advertising, where we show the creativity and some of the the human side of it. But the truth is, a lot of it is hard work, and we've gone sort of from Mad Men with traditional marketing to in digital marketing more like Math Men, right? We have a lot of numbers, a lot of optimization, a lot of tools to help us squeeze a couple percentages of performance out of advertising. And performance advertising is a part of digital marketing that people tend to be most familiar with because they see a banner ad or an ad here, and they think of that as everything. And that's just really the advertising part and just part of advertising to begin with.
So for the people here that are working on the startup of in their business. And it's very interesting how so many work alone. It's a very lonely place.
Yeah.
And when I ask about marketing, they really kind of just have a feel for it. If you're going to say for the people who are watching us today, how are the 3 important things that marketing delivers for you? The advertising. Is advertising marketing? And again, I'd like to comment on selling. Is selling different from marketing?
Yeah, I would argue they're refinement activities. Like marketing is an overarching, topic of getting customers for your business. Selling is part of it. Advertising is part of it. Even customer support and branding work, those can be part of it too. So if you're thinking about digital marketing, a lot of it is capturing people in their online and mobile environments and putting a message in front of them.
Can you just say that again? Because that is a really important sentence.
Capturing potential customers in online or mobile environments and putting your message in front of them.
Okay.
It could be, hey, we're here, which is like a very broad branding message.
Yeah.
Or, act now and get free shipping or something like that, which is very specific, activation, buy right now.
Again, a lot of the people that we work with, and I'm sure you've worked with, they just don't know how to get started because there's quite a lot of choice.
Yeah.
And they're overwhelmed. They're just overwhelmed by it. Can you talk a bit about the choice and a bit about how the minimal things that you've got to have in it? Because they're often very restricted with finance as well.
Yeah.
So what is a minimal marketing?
Minimal marketing. Actually, this is a really good question. There's so many options out there. But the beauty of being a startup is you have no money and you have no time, right?
Yeah.
So when you have those constraints, there's a creative simplicity to it, right? There's only a couple things you need to do, right? You can look at everything, boil the entire ocean, but it really comes down to you have to go for that bullseye. If you think of your market as a shooting for a target, right?
Yeah.
It's the bullseye, the people most interested who just, if they knew your product existed, would fall all over themselves to buy it. Your ideal customer. If you can think of those people and describe them, then finding them online, one of the great things about digital channels is we can describe people in ways that broadcast television, these sort of mass media things, we just couldn't. So if you can say it's women aged 25 to 34 who are interested in their health, they work in cities, so they're professional and they have high income and no time because they're so busy with their careers. If you can describe that person, you can find them online fairly easily.
Okay.
So you end up with only a couple things you have to do in marketing. The reason Google's being attacked is they're so ubiquitous. Google is the start page of the internet. It's a search engine, right? You go there to find out answers to questions, and many of those questions are sort of things where if your company is the answer, that's your opportunity to capture a customer. Google search marketing is a key lead gen method.
But we have something called Sybil, who is competing against that.
Lots of people want to compete against Google.
No, but
they have
Sybil,
95% market share.
I'm probably wrong, but Sybil is the name that we give, the nickname we give to our ChatGPT that we use. What do you think about Sybil or using?
I think there's always something new on the horizon.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the 3 minimum things to do.
Yeah, okay.
Got to put money to Google because that's where most people are searching.
Wow.
Most people aren't looking for the new thing.
Tell me about the searching on Google, because there's choices. What choices are they?
Well, when you type something in on Google, you're what we call showing your intent, right?
Right.
You're deliberately saying, I'm looking for this. And it's usually a question or a problem that you want solved. And it's an amazing thing. The thing about search that's incredible is it's one of the few media where literally you're trying to go somewhere else as fast as possible. There's very few TV shows where they tell you the killer is X, right? And you find out right at the beginning of the murder mystery.
Yeah.
They want to spend 2 hours misdirecting you. That's what entertainment is. Google tells you right at the top how many results and how fast.
Right.
Because the 2 important things is completeness and speed.
Yeah.
So you're going somewhere where you're trying to go somewhere else. And the commercial aspect of being able to put your message in front of someone who's in that mindset to solve a problem is incredible. The second thing, of course, is we have all this social media. Accessible. Both of these, by the way, are incredibly accessible with just a credit card. So you don't need to have an ad agency and $1 million budget and production skills. You can literally put that in on yourself with a credit card. Social media is the same way. And you're going to end up on Meta, probably on Instagram, after you decide to boil the ocean. because that's where your customers are, and the
Right.
tools are great, and you can target them. Now, there's some different problems with both of those, but if you start with those two, this is a great way to start getting customers in. And there's some tricks like lookalike audiences. If you can get a few customers.
Can you explain that a bit
Yeah, if you
more?
get a few customers and you can get them, let's say, from social media, once you have their email addresses or identifiable information, you can upload that to social media, and they will basically match it. And when they match that, as soon as they have enough, they can figure out other people who are similar to those people. So let's say you struggle hard and you go out and you hand out, you could do this by hand, go door to door knocking on doors and get your first 1,000 customers. If you have their email addresses, you can upload those to Facebook or Instagram,
Right.
and it will match those.
Wow.
And then you have the ability to say, find me people like these guys.
Right.
So it's a great way to leverage the power of social media on a budget.
Right.
And the last thing, of course, is we have social media because we can talk directly to the customers. So it's possible to create a TikTok, an Instagram, Facebook posts, blogs, all sorts of things that are content-based marketing. And that's just based on your time and ability to create a message, and you don't have to sell anything there. A lot of people don't like that word sales, like you were mentioning.
I was going to ask you this question.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not
that's
sales.
my thing. Is
Putting
that
yourself out there.
is that just to finish on that though? It sounds easy for you because you are a professor and you're brilliant at this.
Yeah.
But sort of, it's where do you go? I've got this great invention. I've got this great idea or this great medical discovery. Where should I go to find somebody to help me do it? Because I can't, I can go on Google and say, please explain, and can ask Sybil on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And that, believe me, you can get an awful lot out of those two places. But what should they do to try and find the help?
Because, there's a couple things they can do. There's some automated tools that they can use. Like ChatGPT is great for people who know what they want to say, but maybe aren't sure how to say it.
Yeah.
So you can write out a prompt that says, I want to write a blog post explaining all the options for the amateur photographer.
Yeah.
So create a structure for me. And they can write the post, and that gives you a chance to take something. You avoid that whole blank page problem, like, I don't know what to write. And you take something and you can edit it into your own voice.
Right.
So it's just a tool. But people are comfortable with that. That's an easy thing to do. But you can even go one step further. If you're a new business, one of the best things you can do is say, all right, well, I have this one customer who bought my product because it was exactly what they needed. They're such a great supporter. Why not just interview them? Point your phone's video camera and come up with a list of, a dozen questions and ask them, hey, what's your name? What's your business? Tell us what's the most important thing about it. Why did you buy our tool? What's the best thing about it? And you can go through all these very simple prompts for the person and let them get excited on that.
No, that's great.
Simple content to create. You create that video, you upload it to YouTube, you get an instant transcript.
Yeah.
And then your ChatGPT can take that transcript and turn it into a blog post or a post on Facebook or Instagram or anything. So you really have the tools right now in your hands to do what comes natural.
Right.
I think that makes a lot of sense for everybody.
Okay, that is really brilliant. What about the issue that so many startups have? What's the difference between the S word, selling? Well, help us know, because people talk about marketing, and is selling a part of marketing or is it something different? And can you actually be successful without caring about selling? Because what I do here at all, I'm very personally pro-selling. I'm very pro-marketing, by the way. But so many of the pro-marketers just hate the S word. They find it really makes them feel very uncomfortable.
I think a lot of people derive their opinion of selling for a couple reasons. They have a negative perception.
Yeah.
One, a lot of people aren't comfortable talking to new people or strangers. They don't feel like, they just don't feel that energy right away. It takes a lot of people a long time to warm up to new people.
Yeah.
So just coming in with energy and staying focused is hard. But it's a skill that can be learned. There's a lot of people who turn into great salespeople. There's also the truth that some people look at the perception.
Do you think it can be learned? Now, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but people sort of say, you're a born salesman or you're not. How can you approach becoming a good salesperson using all the tricks that you know of finding the information? Because you're a professor. I'm asking you professor's hat now.
Well,
Slightly becoming
I'll be the first person to tell you that some people are more born salesmen because they're people.
Yeah.
People, they're people who enjoy talking to new people.
Yeah.
They have that sense of camaraderie, a little empathy. And some people, are able to be taught some of those skills. Some people can learn methods of selling, and there's a lot of those things like sales scripts and stuff. But I think the biggest problem is in the beginning, the very beginning of a startup, you're the person most passionate about what you're building.
Yeah.
And people love authenticity and passion. The second problem I was mentioning with marketing is a lot of people think in their heads of the marketers and salespeople they've seen in literature, in imagery. So what's the worst person in the world in business? It's the used car salesman, right? Someone who's trying to trick you into buying something. And sales isn't trickery. The best salespeople are trusted advisors.
Yeah.
Now, they're confident that their solution is the best. But if you walk into a conversation with someone who's a potential customer and you're not comfortable selling, think of it as a friend that you're going to give honest advice. If you've built what you feel is the best solution and you frame how to make a decision to this person, they'll obviously come to the conclusions on their own. Yeah. And if they don't, well, maybe that person isn't the right customer.
So I think what I'm trying to get at is that actually you need both. The marketing can do such a lot for you, but the selling can. And I do think that so many startups who are uncomfortable about going out and putting themselves out, and they're shy, and they're not lazy. They're just very shy and embarrassed at how to do it. But you don't have to have one without the other. They actually can work together very well.
Yeah, and founder-led sales is critical at the beginning. If you don't believe enough in your product to tell someone that you'd stake your reputation on it, then why would somebody buy? People want to buy from a person. That's why sales still works, even in this world of digital and mass media, because ultimately we want to buy from someone with an authentic story, someone we want to support. That's why creators right now in social media, they come up with a product and all their fans buy it because they know it's supporting it.
So what's your opinion about having, the people who are influencers? And you, as a marketeer, tell me, and I'm often asked, how important is it to use influencers? And again, for the people who might not be au fait with it, what are influencers?
Well, that's actually a whole bunch of very good questions. Yeah. So first of all, influencers and creators.
I'm trying to get more for my money today. See, I never said it was marketing.
Oh, I got you. And it's a good part of marketing.
Yeah.
Influencers and creators are people who are creating their own content, semi-professional or professional content.
Yes.
In the many social channels we have. So a TikToker, could be somebody on Twitter or Instagram. They're creating content in their own voice. It's an authenticity. It's a point of view. Now, influencers are people like that who actually can get people to do something. And there's a subtle difference because they're not necessarily the same thing. The bigger the creator or influencer's audience, the more it looks like the audience of the whole channel. So I'm sure Kim Kardashian is very popular, but her statistics on engagement and everything, they're going to look like the normal audience of Instagram or whatever. Right. So you're looking for someone who's got a small but targeted and enthusiastic audience that's engaged. And we can track that in many ways, but if I post something, are you going to comment on it and like it and things like that? Yeah, of course, right?
Of course I am.
And that's the thing. You want a creator who in their own voice can authentically talk about your product. And if they can do that in a way that makes their followers say, well, if Larry's interested in this product, it might be good for me. I should try this, right? Okay. And so I think that a true influencer is someone who can make things happen. In the old days, we talked about reach and frequency. In the new way, we have to think about influence and amplification, because the two things you can get is someone can make things happen, meaning try something, or they can amplify the message and get you more people aware of and potentially interested in your product.
So I think it's great what you're saying, because it's like confirming how important digital marketing is. Plus others as well.
Well, I have vested interest in it. I did write.
I know. That's why I was surprised that you were pro salespeople. So that's great. Tell me though, one of the biggest difficulties about startups, not indeed everybody, is recruitment. So if you're recruiting, and you have a budget, and the budget's, what different ways, and what questions? This is going to be the last question because. I don't want to have to pay you more than I normally pay you. What questions should they be asking prospective candidates?
I think interviewing is going to vary depending on like the position, like if it's a developer or something very specific with measurable skills, you're going to want to do certain kinds of tests. And there's people who know how to do that. You're going to want to make sure they have the knowledge. But for a startup, the key things that are different than a big company are going to mostly be about the motivation. Why do you want to join this risky but passion-driven, venture?
Right.
What is it about this person that makes them, want to take this over, hopefully they have many other good opportunities. So first of all, if this person doesn't have opportunities, then it's just a job they can get.
Right.
You want to know, what is it about this person that's going to not just, that they're choosing this path, they're passionate about, they're willing to come to this unproven and untested startup. And the real way to think about that is, when you go out to pitch your startup to investors, you're telling them, if you give me $1 million, here's what you're going to get back, and here's what I'm going to do with your investment. And these people have to be treated almost like people who are investing, but critically more valuable stuff, time, in their peak time of their career. What do they think they're going to get? And it might be the experience of a lifetime. They're going to get responsibility they simply couldn't get at a big company. They're going to get an opportunity to do something new, maybe become experts in something like, all the people working in AI today, building out the future. So those are good reasons to come join a startup. They should hopefully believe in it enough to think they're going to be ridiculously rich, but that can't be the only reason that they're joining.
But share options is also an option, isn't it?
Yes, they should make sure they know what they're getting into, though. They're giving up, a comfortable salary and a pension if they worked a regular job, right?
Yeah, on that side. Okay. So I often get reports myself. We've had X thousand hits to this month or whatever, and I'm always like pleased to hear. They don't seem to tell me when they're very low, by the way, which is not very often. But how do you actually measure them? How do you measure how well they're doing it? How do you do that?
Well, the funny thing about marketing and anything else is we measure what's easy to get, and then we try to manage to the things we're measuring. So if you tell somebody, I want you to go out and get links for my website, they'll go out and tell all their friends to link there, but that doesn't help you get sales.
Yeah.
What you really care about is sales. And the thing to focus on for your business is, are you trying to sell your product? Of course. Now, if you can't track that directly, you get as close as you can. You walk back a step further. Well, if I can't, maybe they have to talk to a salesperson. So you can't close the sale on the website.
Right.
Well, then you want a qualified lead form. And if you can't do that, you walk your way back. We don't really care about clicks or impressions. The advertisement, the publishers care because that's how they sell us ads. What we really care about is people using and paying for our product. So we want to split that. We want to get as close to the thing we care about for two reasons. First of all, we want to track the right thing so that we're doing more of the things that succeed. We can't optimize, which is just do more of what works and less of what doesn't, if we don't know what's working.
Right.
And so tracking is critical. And if we look at it, we have the data, we can even figure out, we thought this product was for everyone, but who really loves it? These people. And let's go find more of them.
Yeah.
That helps you do a better job.
So, Jeremy, now I know why you're such a popular teacher. It's absolutely brilliant. You've given a whole list. My mind is also, blown up on it. It's absolutely fantastic. By the way, your books you've written, you should have brought them along. The last guy brought one along and he had a big sign as well.
I should have done that.
Tell us about the books. Final question. What are the books you've written and who should buy them?
Well, my first and probably my favorite book, because it's going into its third edition, is Digital Marketing, Strategy and Tactics.
Digital Marketing, Strategy and Tactics.
Yes, it's a textbook, but I wrote it to be more conversational, so hopefully not too bad. It's got a lot of resources in it, exercises, examples. Like many textbooks, it costs more than you think, but that's because there's so much teaching material behind it. And, hey, if you buy it used, if you find it, God bless you. Most people put it on the shelf. It's a good reference, but you can read it to learn the basics.
So, Jeremy, lastly, before you leave us with some 3 good suggestions, must-haves or should really have, books or tools that our audience can go out and get to help them on their way. 3, please.
That is That's a tough one. There's some great stuff out there, and there's so much in the universe. But
Yeah.
we already said use Google and Facebook's tools for advertising. So let's focus on stuff that you might not know about or think of.
Yeah.
So one of my favorites is a company called SEMrush. They put a tool out that helps you analyze keywords and sites to figure out what places you can do your content marketing and rank higher.
Right.
And they give you a lot of objective statistics on how you compare to other people.
Okay.
So that's really tough to do on your own.
Yeah.
There's some other good ones out there, but that happens to be my favorite.
Right.
When you're actually doing content marketing, the point of putting all this content out is to get people to share their contact information so you can follow up with them with good information and ultimately to sell them. So one of the companies that really put a name on this, it's called inbound marketing, was HubSpot. Very well known, really good company.
Yeah,
there's a company called SparkToro, and not a lot of people know about them, and they're great at finding your audience. So you have content, you want to find the people to target with that. SparkToro is pretty good at kind of unearthing those hidden gems. And I think if you look at those companies together, you end up with a really great set of tools. And of course, the last one is, of course, AI. ChatGPT or specialized tools like GoCharlie, they can take your thoughts. Think of it as a really smart intern that you can boss around and not feel guilty.
I'm having a relationship. I've even got a name, as I said. I'm having a relationship with ChatGPT. That is so great. Thank you so much. And
My pleasure.
And by
Thanks
the
for
way,
bringing
everybody, we will be putting on the podcast what the name of the books and where they are available.
I'll share all the links, and they will be available in the comments. And like and subscribe, and subscribe.
I'd like to thank you, Jeremy.
You're very welcome.
For joining us today. Jeremy, please let our audience know where they can find you.
Well, my website for startups is textbook.vc, but you can get my book, Digital Marketing Strategy and Tactics, either at Amazon or at Wessex, which is my publisher.
Okay.
And that will be the best place to find me. I'll put all the links to those and the tools that I mentioned. I'll give them to you to put right below this podcast.
I will do. And we will put them below this podcast. So thank you very much for that. Use them, abuse them. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Gold with Gould podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.